living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Wow. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on right here at the Dr. Pat Show. We have never changed who we are in our tagline, but I really must say, Benny remembers this. The origin of the show was crust busting your way to an awesome life. And this is still the vibration of the show. Many of you have heard me on a couple of other shows I do, The Psychic and the Doc, Power Up with Dr. Pat. But this show is the show of raising vibration, of helping all of us rise up above what we may see in our lives, what we may see in the environment. And I have to say, as I start this show today with my very special guest and friend, Julia Griffin, we're in a time, but there's a shift in time that's happening right now. And Julia, as you know, fabulous show that she does. She is an intuitive healer, but much more than that. And what I mean by much more than that is she understands how it is we can transform our lives. How we can do that, whether if you've listened to her beautiful meditative techniques, but she learned these from real majestic beings, the wolves. You've heard me talk about it. You've heard me talk about her. Whether it is her counseling sessions, animal communication, classes that she teaches, the energy that comes through, and I mean that, the energy that comes through and comes through loud and clear has to be about what we're talking about today. The way of nature helps us rise up, shift in vibration, and look at possibilities. Today, all of you will get to experience that in the midst of what we're seeing in Hurricane Ida. Hearts go out to those folks. Oh my gosh. My mom personally went through Hurricane Andrew, so I have firsthand experience with that. And also all of the folks in Afghanistan. We understand all of this. But today we're going to find out what the wolves and personal intuition are bringing forward to us. Julia, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate it so much.
I want to start out with you and get a read on the pulse, if I can call it that, of current energies. And you and I, before the show, we were talking a little bit. And, one of the questions that I always get is, how do you remain so positive given everything going on in the world? And I think we have the answer, don't we, to that?
Yes, we do have the answer. It's the same thing that we have in our personal life. I mean, we may have a terrible day. For example, Saturday, I went with my daughter for a visitation of a person that we loved. It was the father of one of her friends. And we had a lot of sadness and rawness, but here's the thing, in the rawness, we had a soul conversation. And yes, I still feel it, but there are also beautiful things. My roses are blooming. Life is all around me. When I talk to the wolves, I know there's this incredible energy in the earth that's rearranging itself, that for people who are awake will soon be able to manifest more. And I believe in people. I believe in the goodness of our souls and the goodness of who we truly are. And if we can harness, even to a small extent, that energy to manifest good things, think what a wonderful world it would be. So that's where I put my consciousness, is on reality and possibility, and noticing that I have the ability to swing into that higher vibration.
And, as we're talking about this, we're getting a sense of what that higher vibration is about. And as I think about the higher vibration, what I want to really focus on is what you said. It doesn't matter where you are or what walk of life you're coming through. What we're talking about is an energy that can help all of us rise up, right? Even if we're feeling a sense of agitation, right? And this is really one of the things I love. You and I, we're not denying that we are human beings and we feel stuff. There's no question about that. But we still can receive light and illumination.
And in that illumination and in that light, when people feel that from you, if they're awake or aware or awakening, they can receive it, and you two can both go to a higher vibration. There's a greater opening for love. It doesn't mean I don't feel the pain or the sadness. It means that I also have an opening where I can move into love, and that changes it. Or I can move into the name of your show, Unlimited Possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I can choose if I'm going to go to a place where maybe we can just make incredible changes. Maybe the things we're seeing are the things we need to change. I mean, the wolves certainly think we should link more deeply with nature and that would help. So you think about that. What can I do to help? We are always going to have problems and struggles, but I don't think that we have to be limited by them. Is that a good way to say it?
Yes, it is. It's a great way to say it, because here we are today and we're in the world of possibilities. We're in the world of being able to move in the space of energy, almost as if we can put a halt on time for a moment. And yet at the same time, you're bringing some insight. I want to talk about this because I think it's so important. You're bringing insight, whether it's talking about light and illumination and possibilities, but you have spent time, and we know you have spent time with the wolves, and you and I have talked about this before. I have just an unusually, what some people would call, strange relationship with wolves. If you came into my house, you would see pictures of them, many pictures of them. And yet I've never been face to face. But there is an energy and a knowledge that they want to share, and they've shared it with you. What is the
Definitely.
sense? What are they sensing right now? If you could share that.
Okay. They say as the energy in the earth continues to shift, and I think we all know that that's changing, just if we look at climate change the last couple of years, it's moving around. There are places that are known as power points or ley lines, and those are shifting. They say they're shifting more than they have in thousands of years.
Wow.
As they shift, if you're awake, you will get more of that very potent energy that makes things happen, that helps you with your intentions, that helps you to do the things that are aligned with your soul. So, I mean, I really think if we had 1,000 or 10,000 people doing that every day for just a few minutes, a lot of things would balance out and a lot of things would work. It's really about having a bigger vision and seeing more of the human potential. Because when the universe comes in, all of us who've had moments of awakening, how long are you really completely awake? Maybe a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, a day. That's not much time, but look at all the difference it makes in our lives when it happens.
And when we're talking about this and we're talking about the shifts, one of the things I'm acutely aware of is that there is a sense of optimism. There is a sense of shifting energies. And, I say that even in the middle of the chaos, and I use the word chaos because that's the way people see it. I say that even in the middle of what we're seeing in the outside world. There's nothing more prevalent to bring the metaphor to the forefront than to look at the devastation that people in the Gulf just went through with Hurricane Ida. And I want to talk about this, and I would love for you to comment on this. When my mom went through Hurricane Andrew, they lived in Homestead, Florida. And I don't know if people remember Andrew, but Andrew pretty much annihilated everything in the southern part of Florida. And my mom was in real estate. And can you imagine? Now, the only home in the area that was left was my brother's. Why? Because he had a home built on cinder block. Well, the only home in Homestead, Florida, built on cinder block, right? But
Right.
my mom said this to me, and I would love for you to comment. She said, when I tried to get her to leave, she said, "No, honey, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving here." She said, now I know why Spirit has gifted me my real estate license. I have so much work to do to help people rebuild. And I wanted to ask you about that because that's the energy kind of I'm feeling now. What are the wolves seeing? What do
I
you
think that what we will get will be something that may feel like a raw energy or a very strong light energy when it first comes in. We've had periods of that, like during the Lionsgate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we will rebuild with that energy. You know, for several years I lived high in the mountains and so far away from people I couldn't feel anything, and it was tranquil and serene. But I very much felt called to move to a place where I could feel everyone again and know what the world was thinking. And we have to work with the world.
Yeah. You know, I want to ask you this question as we kind of move forward here because we have so much to talk about. I want to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk with you about the expansive nature, the expansive energies, what you've been taught, you know, what we're hearing about spiritual teachings. And most importantly, Julia, what I'm really struck by is for myself and so many others, what happens when we listen? What happens when we actually listen to these energies, to these possibilities? What shifts and how do we develop our gifts in doing that? All of that when we come back with my very special guest, Julia Griffin. For those of you out there, you may know who she is. You can go to onetrueself.com. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, so much that the wolves want to share. And by the way, we're taking your calls. If you have a question for Julia, we're taking your calls. 1-800-930-2819. When we come back, can you feel the energy? Can you step into your gifts? Can you remove the fear that will hold you back? And how can the wolves help us? We'll be right back.
All clear.
Fun though.
Yeah. I was,
and we ended it
Yeah.
quietly so they couldn't get themselves into turmoil.
Sometimes being human has its challenges. Our
You know,
physical
it's
health
fascinating.
falters, our spirits
I
sag,
like to
our
watch
dreams
the
don't
kind of
immediately come to
weirdest
fruition.
television shows.
Welcome to the power of Maximum
dad was
Medicine
a
Radio.
mechanic,
Join me,
and
Doc Martin,
most of my
in
young
conversations that will blow your
I
mind about
had
healing.
grease under
In our
my
hit show,
fingernails
Doc Martin
for as long
addresses
as
the
I can remember.
scientific with bridging
I
to the
love
mystical
working with my
approaches
dad. I
to
mean,
give you
you
a
can
new
imagine us
narrative
living
about
in
maximum
Bronx.
medicine.
Not the
In
best
this
of
live
places,
call-in
not
show,
very
we will
much green.
journey into the extraordinary
dad
genius
worked
of the
all
human
the time.
body
And
and
then
talk
on
about other
weekends when he
beliefs that
wasn't,
impact being your
he would be building
multidimensional
these
self.
cars,
We
right?
seek the seen and the unseen
It
and
was just
explore the
incredible.
earthbound
My
and the
dad
otherworldly,
taught us three
all with the
girls, 'cause he
purpose
didn't
of
have my
calling
brother.
forth the maximum you.
So he had
To
three
learn
girls.
more about Doc Martin and
So
Maximum
we learned how
Medicine,
to set the
visit
timing on fires, how to check the oil.
www.sharonmartinmd.com.
I mean, it's really unusual, right?
Join the new Earth on the
Yeah.
Cornelia
It
Stephanie
is.
Show. Tune
But
in
it's
each
such
month as Cornelia
gratification
takes listeners on an
really
odyssey of higher
And I
consciousness
watched
to
this
inspire,
really odd
educate,
show
and
on
empower.
Netflix,
Cornelia
which is,
Stephanie is
I
a
think
spiritual
they're called
teacher, patent speaker,
Rags or
published
Rust to
author, and
Riches.
founder of the Empower
And
Network.
the creative
Cornelia
energy
guides
of what
people
they
on the
do
path of
is
self-healing,
fascinating.
peace, and liberation. For more information, go to corneliastephanie.com.
With your mind and your body.
Are you ready to
and
invest in your
being guided.
best self?
And this
Join
weekend I
Sabrina
watched
Wright
a
as
show
she
where
shares
the
tools
guy
for
that
creating
came
joy
into
and
the
balance in your
garage
life every
had
single
an
day.
insight,
Sabrina
and
is here to help
had a
you
vision.
become your greatest advocate and
And it
empower
was
you to make
far out.
decisions that will help you live
And
your best
everybody
life.
on the
The
team
Live the
got
Good
on
Life
board
Show,
to build it.
connecting your
This is his
physical and
concept.
spiritual self. Every second
And I
Thursday at
watched
11
him
a.m.
go through
Pacific
this,
on
and in the middle of this,
transformationtalkradio.com.
right at the
Find
end of the
Sabrina
building,
at the
this
right,
beautiful concept called Gotta Be Working
WRIGHT,
in the Pit.
balance.com.
COVID the
Are you
hill,
ready to
and
get
they
big
took
and live
caution
your
in it.
life out loud?
And I watched Mark.
Tune in to
Owen
Get Big
make
Out
a
Loud Radio,
decision, even though
exploring life
people
through the
were not
lens
gonna
of
get
curiosity
paid,
and compassion.
to not
With me,
sell the
Carrie
car for
Knudsen,
less
joining
than
Dr.
$1.
Pat live every second
And then,
Monday
of
at
course,
10
he
a.m.
brought
Pacific
another car
on
in that they could take some money with, but then the
TransformationTalkRadio.com.
series ended.
I will
And I
offer
thought to
ideas to
myself,
transform what you are thinking
this
into
is the
conscious
energy.
action. If you
You know,
want to
this
get
is
big
how
and
you
live your
hold
life
on
out
to
loud,
integrity.
visit
You
me
don't
at
compromise,
KnudsenSpeaks.com.
especially with your
Are you ready to
intuition,
find out who you really
especially with
are?
the gift that
Are you
you're
ready to
given.
have fun and listen to the soul
Even-
part of yourself?
even
Indulge
if
in a
the
deeper
times
meaning
would
with
dictate
Laura
you do
Goldstein,
something
host
else.
of Coffee with the Universe.
And that's what I want to
This
I
show
agree.
will
when we come
awaken that
back,
true self hidden
because
deep
this
within you
guy,
and will
I
get you
can't wait for the
energized on
next
who you were
series. That was the
created
end
to
of the
be.
series.
So go ahead, grab your cup
had a
of joe
vision.
and
He
experience
built
Coffee
this
with the
beautiful
Universe with
concept
Laura
car.
Goldstein on
And he didn't want to sell it for
TransformationTalkRadio.com.
$225,000. He just knew the long-term impact of that would be devastating.
Better come back.
Thank you, Benny. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to get some exercises today in the show from my very special guest joining me here today, Julia Griffin. And by the way, you know, one of the things that you learn about Julia is that when you take a look at the work that she does, when you take a look at what she invites us to, you know, if you go to her website, onetrueself.com, the first thing you're going to be invited to is to open to your inner wisdom and power. Open to your inner wisdom and power. And by the way, you'll see here how to tune into her radio show. Amazing. Second and fourth Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern. You know, the power of inspiration and awakening radio. And you will not only get insight from her, but what you'll get are tools to change. You know, this is the thing for me. When I listen and I hear what Julia brings forward, here's what I get, especially today. And I just want to ask her about this. Not only do I get the messages from the wolves, but what we get is an invitation to truly step into our full power. Julia, thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you and the wolves for joining us here today. I want to just start out by this. I shared a little ditty with you about how I like things transformed and rebuilt. And there's an energy about that. You know, I watched this crazy show on television where they take cars that are just ridiculously nothing and they make something out of it. And that's what my dad and my sisters and I did. But there's an energy of this now. There's this sense that here we are, things seem like they are broken or breaking, but yet it's a time to step into the energy and rebuild. Can I ask you this question? How do we help folks through the energies of earth and the absolute energy of the wolves? How will we be able to truly step in to our gifts and accelerate our ability to manifest right now? Because I know that energy is here. What do you think?
Oh, definitely we can. Let's start with the first thing that the wolves showed me, and that was how they perceived me. And they showed me my inner self or my soul and how I had light within me and how that looked to them. Now, the four-legged or the creatures of the earth have a lot of light because they're always in harmony with the earth, right? So they're always getting energized. We have choices about it. But when we start to perceive our inner light and where it wants us to go and what it wants us to do, that's intuition is giving us that information. When we take a step in that direction, we get more energy. And wolves measure things in energy. Am I going to a higher vibration? Am I receiving more physical energy? Am I aligned with myself? And as you do that more and more, you actually receive more energy from the universe and from the earth. So that would be like the first step of manifesting is to simply know that.
Hmm. We are looking at an unusual time that we live in. We're looking at this space but there is, this beautiful attraction for people to create, for people to manifest. And I do believe it is a spiritual pull. And that's what I call it. I call it a spiritual pull. And what I mean by that, Julia, and I love to hear from you about this, the spiritual pull is to pull us, literally pull us forward, pull us up, raise our consciousness, raise our frequency, and have positivity be our launch pad. And that's, for me, is what this show has been about for 18 years. And
right, it's true expansion.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's true expansion. When you feel that pull, and it is certainly accelerated right now, say by 10 or by 100, because the earth is really asking us to step up. Every time you do it, whoever is on the same path is going to feel that comfort. As you develop your gifts, like right now, we could actually send comfort to New Orleans. We could all do that. And because it's positive energy, it helps. So every time you do that and act on your intuition and really hold tightly to whatever vision is coming through you, and intention means staying with it, maybe seeing it 50 times a day, maybe moving through the energy that blocks it within yourself or within life. It's making a gigantic difference on the planet, whether you realize it or not. And maybe that one little step, like I'll make a phone call, or I'll look this up on the web, or I'll go ahead and do something with this. You're actually propelling everyone forward because it's an act of peace and love and healing.
I want to talk about peace, love, healing, and the equation of how that brings us to manifestation. We can talk about many aspects of manifestation, but I want to talk to you about the part that I've experienced in my life, Julia, where, when I've been spiritually bankrupt, and that's my term, where I've been spiritually bankrupt, you can feel the energy of that. And it is so critical now in my life where I can start to feel where I'm moving away from the world of possibilities and on my way to the world of trying to figure out logic, probability, looking at, linear objectives. And this is really the time, isn't it, for us to really take a look at expansive nature. And I'd love for you to talk about that, especially the messages that are coming from the worlds, because you see, we even want to put a limit on what we can do in this world and have.
Absolutely. Let's just take a really basic one. And I've certainly seen it myself and everyone else, no matter what financial level you're on, when you decide that you want more, you've already sort of figured out in your mind. And then that's like a line that later on, if you decide to grow again, you've got to grow beyond that. We do the same thing with exercise. I look good, I'm in good shape, but we stop there. We all stop there. So that's how we self-impose limitation. Here's the thing is the quantum field or the universe, if we're honest about it, and we look at miracles, and I think in some ways that's a frightening thing for people to do because you're not controlling everything. Everything can change in a few seconds or a few minutes. People live, people die, people have breakthroughs, people suddenly understand things. The quantum field acts in a way that we know very little about. We call it in when we're connected to our inner self or the universe or God or other people who are on a higher vibration. When it comes in, things act in a different way from the way that they normally do. And every single one of us has had a time where we've changed our perception and everything around us has changed and started to work in another order.
Right.
So one thing that I always say about this is I don't know how, but this happens. Like I'll say to someone, don't say, I don't know how to get a job or what am I going to do? Say, no one knows how, but this wonderful job just suddenly falls in my lap. Or no one knows how, but it's suddenly easy for me to get in great shape. Right. So you go around that logic.
Right. And this is really kind of the energies we started to talk about at the beginning of the show. We're talking about this energy that is here and available to all of us. This is really, one thing of fascination on how we bring this forward. And, most of what I think people ask, Julia, is what do they think we should manifest now? And how would we do it? I think people have this sense that yes, there's a new hope, there's a new renewal. But the question then becomes, what could we manifest? And then the next step is how? How do we do that? I get more how questions now than I've gotten in 10 years. And I think it's great to get those questions because I used to get why, and I don't get why anymore.
Well, I think the first thing is it's important to see there are two levels of this. One is every time you manifest a life for yourself that's in alignment with who you truly are, you're raising your frequency, the frequency of your family, and everyone around you. And that's important. On a higher level, and I think this is more of the question that you're asking me, you're saying, how as a group do we learn how to manifest and see the world in a different way? So I think for all of us, we at least have a feeling of what it would be like if, say, energy were free. You know, everything, I'm not going to say solar, but let's just say that everything is holistic.
Yeah.
Food is healthy. Water is clean. The world is beautiful. I always put in that people don't work so much, and it's easy to have abundance because notice how expansive that feeling is. So it's whatever feels expansive to you. Now, my understanding from the wolves is that as we come together as a group with more love and peace, and of course we can only feel that when we're connected and aligned. It eludes us most of the time otherwise, and that's okay. It's a great thing to search for. But as we come together with a group vision, every single awakened individual has something specific in that group vision that is so important. So we're all adding to that. And I don't know how it all comes together and works out. You know, you could say it's like a quilt or a collage or an accumulation of clouds and beautiful colors all coming together and making something more beautiful than anything we ever dreamed of. But say you take what I said and you added the things you wanted, that alters it a lot in a positive way.
Yeah. And this is really how we build the momentum of energy. You know, how we build this. When we come back, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, are you asking yourself the question, all of you out there, you know, is this just for a few or is this available? And let's talk when we come back about what the wolves have taught Julia, what they've taught Julia about what we're moving to. Is this new age? What are the spiritual teachings? And how is this time different than times before? Have you ever felt that once upon a time, these spiritual teachings were for a handful of people? They were basically a bit of nothing for most of us. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the differences are. What do the wolves have to say about new age and spiritual teachings? And are you ready to invoke this aspect of energy change into your life? We're going to take a short break, everybody. When we come back, more with this, more with Julia. And certainly you can call into the show if you have a question for Julia. 1-800-930-2819, because there is a way to connect intuitively, and you'll hear about that as well. We'll be right back, everyone.
All clear.
Love and hey, that's enough this time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, one of the
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Steffen each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit thetruthисfunny.com.
Welcome to
my
Soul
sense is
Activation
this is a time
Podcast,
to
a
message
world-class
that this is an
broadcast of
abundant
insight
universe
and
and a benevolent
inspiration with the renowned healer and coach, Suzanne
agree.
Alexandria.
And I also feel
In
like
this
we're,
series,
I
she
don't know if
dives
everyone
deep
is
into
doing
the
it, but I know for
magical
people like
sea
you
of
and me, we're
you,
working
to the
awfully
place
hard
in
on
you that's
physical
ready
world
to
and
activate. Tune in live
my gosh,
every
yeah.
second and fourth Monday
Oh my
at
gosh,
2
yeah.
p.m. Pacific,
Yeah.
5
It's so
p.m.
interesting.
Eastern
I
on
am, I'm out in the world
transformationtalkradio.com.
and, very close to some of these new innovations.
Stuck in
we're
a
doing.
roundabout of dysfunction?
And I'm
Stop
talking
circling
to
around
about
difficult
10
issues and
different
find out
funding
what's been
groups.
holding you back.
And,
Learn how to speak your truth to
part of
power with
this
host
is
Dr. Kathy
getting
Obear.
funding
Create
to
real change
create
with
funding,
smart tools and
especially
smart
to do our
strategies.
crowdfunding.
No frills,
But it's
no fluff,
interesting
just
as you go through
life-changing
this
conversations to
process
help get you where you
and
want to be.
you look at,
Extend your reach and become
what
an
is
agent
your-
for real
what
change
is
with
your
Kathy
personal-
Obear.
what is your
For more
material
information on
worth? What
Kathy
is
and
your
her work,
personal worth?
please visit
What do you value?
drkathyObear.com.
And I
That's
think that when I watched that show last night,
drkathyObear.com.
and I watched Mark
Tune in to the show
basically
Heart
say,
Change
no,
Consciousness
we're
with
not
me,
going
Dr.
to
Trish
devalue
DeRocher,
ourselves.
as stories of
We're not
inspired
gonna
activism
compromise
come
based
to
on
life.
fear.
Listening to
And I
conversations
know it was
with
this
your favorite
silly car
authors,
show,
change makers,
but
and many more
it was
who practice
really
inspired
5
spiritual
people on the
activism
team
and
were
transform
not gonna get paid,
vulnerabilities
and they
into
hadn't
sources
got
of strength.
paid. But in the
Let's
end,
be
Mark came
inspired
through with
together
another
through my
car
show,
build, and
Heart
we'll have to
Change
wait till next
Consciousness
season.
on
But the point is
Transformation
this.
Talk Radio.
I mean, I watched this man be offered $225,000.
Hi, I'm Patricia McNair, host of Divine Guidance with Patricia, and I'm here to help you live a more authentic, spiritually connected life. Join me every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Being who you are in everyday life is the key to unlocking soul wisdom within that our whole self already knows. Get ready to embrace your spiritual, mental, and emotional well-being, your whole being. Discover your gifts and strengthen your connection to spirit. We will explore Earth's guidance, divine truth, and love, past life lessons, and so much more. So listen in to Divine Guidance with Patricia and join in your personal adventure to triggering, opening, validating, and being all that you are. For more information about me, visit divineguidance.earth.
But I understand his selection. He picked.
You're driven, and it totally shows. Your career is taking off, you're killing it in the mom game. But did your health needs make it on the plate this week? Tune in to the Boss Up Babe radio show, where Carissa Adkins helps babes show up, boss up, and thrive. Every second and fourth Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Become the boss babe you were meant to be. To sign up for one of Carissa's group coaching programs, visit 365dailyhustle.com.
And then he drove it down the street and the engine caught on fire. That was my first experience with what not to do to an engine. But my dad was so forgiving. It was exciting. It was so exciting that when he was driving down our street in the Bronx and the car caught on fire, all of my friends were like, "Oh my God, this is great." Yes, Benny.
All right, stand by. I've had all this town I can stand.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's so great to have all of you tune us in, turn us on. As I said before, and we're going to have some exercises today. You can find out more about Julia very easily. Go to onetrueself.com. You do that, it's ONE, trueself.com. If you go to Facebook, it's the number 1 True Self, Facebook, the number 1 True Self, and so much more. All of what you will find in and on Julia's website is a representation of her calling and stepping forth in the world. You'll be able to read especially about her and her journey. But the thing that we're talking about here today, and you got to look at the picture of Julia with the wolves, but what we're talking about today is not just looking at these things, but tapping into the accelerated results that you can achieve with ease and grace. This is it. She has soul work that she does to get at the core issues. But today's show in particular is about manifesting with ease and grace. Julia, it's so great to be able to talk with you about this, speak with the wolves about this. Because let's talk about what I said before the break. There are a lot of people that have the understanding that this idea this idea of tapping into what the wolves taught you. It once upon a time, when we looked at New Age, once upon a time, it was for a small percentage of people. Can we talk about what the difference is that you've learned between New Age and spiritual teachings, and how they are so critical for where we are today in the world?
Sure. I think in the past we had shaman, we had priestesses and priests, we had almost a spiritual elite. And from these people, they gave energy, spiritual energy healing teachings. But it's literally open for everyone. This is a group initiation. It's falling between the turning of the ages between Pisces and Aquarius. And we know that when that door opens, there's this huge flash of light that comes out. Let's go back 2,000 years ago to Jesus Christ and Gautama Buddha. They were great teachers who illuminated the world, but this time it's everybody who can see and feel the light or wants those flashes of awakening. So no matter what level you're on, you're important. Your positive thoughts, your positive actions, your desire for more light, it is amplifying and helping everyone and everything. And your ideas and thoughts are so important.
When we think about this, we think about the world of manifestation. And a lot of times, Julia, I think you and I both have heard that this idea of creating the life we want has to be a very difficult, a very hard, filled with potholes and obstacles. And I want to talk about the power of tapping in to the energies of the universe. I want to talk about the power of spirituality and the power of practice in that, because that's what you also help people with. And there is a power in it. We've heard many, many stories. There's a story I love about a woman who was diagnosed with terminal cancer, 3 weeks to live, and literally tapped into the energy we're talking about, in the form of her prayer process. And the cancer was gone. And that was 30 years ago. These are not mistakes, and they're not anomalies. What would the wolves say to us so that we can all believe that each of us has that power? We have that within us, right? Can you talk to that?
Yeah. So I think that there are moments when we tap into that quantum field or God or the divine that is so incredible that it flows through us and changes everything. Back to what I said about the moment. For myself, I really have to cultivate that practice of opening up to it and staying aligned with it. I know when I'm having bad moments that I'm not aligned or I need to do it in a different way. One thing that the wolves said to me that I think is so true, that in this modern time, we've lost a lot of our faith. If we go back 500 years ago, everyone would sit and pray for a miracle and believe that that possibility existed. So we really need to move back into that possibility, and that's perception, changing our perception so we're open to a bigger future. And I think that's the first shift for everyone. And anyone you talk to, you and I both know this, they'll tell you their limitations. But what if you turn it around? Like, yes, I may feel limited about this, but then there's this world. There's this way of looking at it. What if you decide to see yourself differently? I mean, anyone can do that. You can sleep better, you can look better, you can create more income, and you can do it in a relatively short period of time if you're willing to work on the higher perceptions.
Julia, I think about this, and I think about how easy it is for all of us to really be in this place of thinking what's not possible and what's thinking what we can't shift. I want to ask you this question. As you tap into, the energy that we're talking about here, I want to understand and have folks understand the true expansive nature that, first of all, you were taught by the wolves, but also these are part of what you do in your intuitive readings with people. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't think I'm the only person that has asked you to like, Julia, talk to me about the energy of the universe. Talk to me about what I'm perceiving. talk to me about what's possible for me. I bet you get that all the time.
And different, phrased in different ways. So the first answer is that I can look at people intuitively the way that the wolves taught me, which is that I can look at your soul and see your beauty and see how incredible you are. And everyone is that way on a core level. I mean, the colors and the sounds are just overwhelmingly exquisite. And that's one of the best things in my life, is to get to see that. Then I move to your life and where you are. And so naturally I can feel where you're off that vibration, right? So as people talk to me about what they want to create, and sometimes I'll say, let's work on it now. Sometimes I'll say it's not quite the time, or we need to work on something else for the moment, but we can get to that. I start to see what's between what you want and where your soul is and where you are in your path, and how we can take steps in that direction. Sometimes it's blocks that we need to clear. Sometimes it's the energy from other people. Sometimes it's where you are geographically. Sometimes it's how you're perceiving things based on maybe even possibly past lives, but certainly karma from this life and what's happened. Because whenever we're traumatized, we have perceptions that aren't in alignment with our big possibility. So we sort of work through those. And at some point, the universe comes in and it just starts to help, and everything starts to move in a different direction.
Yeah. Look, I know I started the show out on mentioning and talking about, the notion of when we look in the outside world, right? There are so many things that hit our heart and hit our hearts hard. At least for me this weekend, I don't watch the news 24/7, but I stay abreast, and I watch people's responses to things. My greatest concern as I tap into this energy for me for today is how much hate, the energy of that comes through in so many ways. And this is where I think we can, all of us, by who we are and what energy we carry, I'm hoping we can neutralize that. And I want to talk to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm going to point out, first of all, that when we're connected with who we are or the universe, we feel unconditional love and peace. Whenever on this planet at this time, and I pray it changes and it gets a lot better, whenever a lot of people move into light and love, the people who are afraid and angry become louder because it doesn't feel good to them. And so you see that surges upwards. However, we already know that wherever there's duality on this planet, it finally switches over. And if we hold a high enough vibration, then it must change. It doesn't have a choice. So I think in some ways we're seeing the resistance. And so when I see it out in the world, and I certainly feel it and try not to get my feelings hurt by it, I'll think, I know that there's a part of you that is so beautiful, and you're not there yet. And I forgive you for where you're stuck, because it must feel awful.
Yeah. And this too is by raising our own vibration and holding the space for others. We can hold the space really that is not in the realm of hate. We can hold the space, which is in the realm of compassion. I've often think about Peace Pilgrim, and I think about what it would be like to live every moment of every part of your day in this beautiful place of love. And what I'm really struck by, and would love for you to talk to this, is can we share a technique in the show to help us raise our energy and feel more positive in general? Because I learned something a couple of years ago, and it's been my go-to. It's certainly not innovative, but I learned how to say consciously in my mind, thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, thank you, wolves, thank you, Goddess, thank you, universe. And I just say it over and over in my mind. And the days that I can do that well, Julia, it's like the slide and glide of life. But we're all human.
You're free.
Yeah. Can you share a few techniques to help the folks here do the same?
Sure. This one is just to feel more of who you are, but real life at the same time. So let's imagine that coming down from the universe is a ray of sparkling pink light. and it's all around you. It's going into your face, your back, the front of your body, your legs, your arms, your hands. It's in every particle, every molecule of you, and in the spaces in between. Then draw a circle on your chest, middle of your chest, and feel your heart space. And imagine that beautiful unconditional love flowing into you and into your life. And feel how that flow of pink light will breathes into you, comes out with you. And explore this heart space. And in the moments when I feel difficulties, and we all do, I think about how it feels, and I say, universe, please connect me with my heart and my inner self. Because when you connect with your heart and your inner self, you can't feel the outside world. And you immediately move into a place where there's peace and answers and stillness. So it's a way of moving yourself into more of the divine world while still being present in your physical body. So those moments of pausing and moving out of it and feeling your heart, which can only feel love for the most part, you're free for a little while. And that freedom gives you a habit of finding that beautiful part of yourself. It also disconnects you from what I call mass consciousness, the energy of people on the earth all collected together as a negative force field. And that's something that's happening now, is that if you think a negative thought, it's amplified by mass consciousness, but you can take yourself out of it. And because I'm looking right now through a window at the forest or a small forest, I can say, thank you, trees. Thank you, flowers. Thank you, earth, for taking me back into myself.
Julia, that is so beautiful. And yet it's for everybody to really lean into. It's to really hold on to. And I want to really follow up with that, because what you just did is a complete shift in energy. And this is the thing that I love about speaking with you and about what you bring forward. And that is, this is a message that I hear. It is a message for everyone. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you think you're doing in life. It doesn't really matter, about the material world. But this is a message you're bringing forward to help everyone create that shift, to create that and make a personal difference in life that does then have a ripple effect. I want to take a look for a minute, if we could, and have a conversation and ask the wolves, where do you see us? Is there a vision that you sense, whether it be an energetic vision? This has been a very, I'd say, interesting year from so many perspectives. 1 minute you have hope, another minute you have something else. And I'm curious about what the wolves see in the energy moving forward.
Well, what they're showing me is so interesting. If we go back to the PowerPoints, and I'm just looking at the United States right now, there are energy spaces that are opening up. And so when I'm seeing those, they look like these beautiful golden lights. They pop up like a button on a game, when you're playing a game and you hit the right place and the lights come on. And so if someone steps on them or someone can amplify the energy, it showed me that the spot was growing, like that golden light would become greater and it would spread out. And then when it did that, it changed the game, like the landscape of the game changed when that happened. And so it's our finding that power in the earth. And how do we find that? Through our own intuitive power from connecting and feeling our hearts, right? So if we do that, then it takes it to a more advanced game with a lot more energy and a lot more potential. And I think that's what we're working with now. And, you've asked the big question. How are we going to deal with these huge emotions, which are so heavy sometimes? They are to me anyway, because I feel the pain of so many people.
Right.
and get on that game where we find the places where there's more light. And I think the answer to that is believing in ourselves and the goodness of other people, and the idea that we really are evolving and those energies are there for us to use.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about this possibility of energies. You know, I'm often asked, you know, how did you see this, Pat? You know, how did you see that the world would need a positive talk? And at the time, positive talk. Now, of course, we're both talk and video, what people call TV now. But they asked me about that. And when I go back in time and I think about where I was, I think about how it was one of the lowest points in my life. Now, was everything caving in on me, or was it emotionally low? It was an emotionally low part. It was this part of conflicts within myself, you know, with what I was to be in the world based on the view of others and what I felt like I was called to do. And I find now today, people have this conflicting energy within them. What can we share in these last minutes to help people get clarity and let their true selves emerge?
Okay, when we have conflicted energy, we haven't found the answer yet. The answer is going to come from taking something from both sides of the equation, like the part of you that was unhappy actually fueled the part of you that wanted to find something to do, right?
Right.
So both sides, and let's just call it male and female for lack of a better word, both sides have value. It's not like one is right and one is wrong. It's that we have to get those parts of ourselves in communication. When we can begin to do that and build something out of that, it becomes so much bigger than who we were when we had the problem. I mean, anyone would tell you if you hadn't had the problem, my goodness, how could you have done all this? How could you have had the vision, right?
Right.
So problems are not all bad, but they feel bad. And so that's a process. One thing everyone can do right now is to imagine that beautiful ray of pink light or love. First, it goes to the part of you that doesn't feel good emotionally. Then it goes to the part of you that has the question, what can I do with this? And the more you love unconditionally, not like deeply or personally, but unconditionally, both sides of you, the more quickly the answer will come.
Julia, I love, love, love. I'm so glad to have you here with us today. And more importantly, to bring these messages forward. Can you take a minute and let folks know, one, how they can work with you directly, some of the work you do, some of the other things that you have put together to help all of us raise our energy?
Sure. You can find me at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, which at the moment is bi-monthly. Sometimes I write more. I do classes on Saturdays or Sundays from time to time. Every year I have a 9-month class, and if you're interested in readings, just send me an email. You can go to my website and do that, or just write me at onetrueself@gmail.com. And I love hearing from people, so please feel free to write.
I want to thank you for today. I can't thank you enough for all that you do in the world. And I want to ask you one last question. What is the personal message? What would you like to leave us with today? What would the wolves like to leave us with today?
Oh, you are so powerful, and you're going to have more energy. And you are so incredibly capable of creating better things and changing your life and being part of what makes this planet tick. And I am so glad you're there, and I'm so glad for your light. And let's all get together, at least energetically, and do something together, which we can do. And that will just be the coolest thing in the whole world.
Wow. I love it. Julia Griffin, everybody. I'm Dr. Pat. I just want you to know to please what you've heard today. And Julia, thank you for a very special show, right? Thanks to all the...
such a pleasure.
Oh my gosh. Thanks to all the wolves too for showing up today.
They definitely did.
And thank you for their powerful message and the reminder for all of us that we live in the concentration of energy and light, and that is so available to us. It is like breathing if we enable it to be. And what Julia said before is so important. if you're in this place where clarity is not your mainstay yet, and there are some things that perhaps need to be removed, please reach out to Julia. Please reach out and know that you are expansive. All of that is you. Let's take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back.
All clear.
Thank you, Benny. You're always right on the dot.
Right. He's right.
You are quite welcome. Thank you.
Benny on the dot. Thank you.
Yeah, he is.
Believe me, I know. He keeps me in line. I'll tell you that.
I mean, I can feel his timing before we even get to it. I mean, that's amazing.
I know.
I mean, it's